Okay, we're live again. Sorry about this geezer's here. I don't know what's going on with it. He should be able to do better on a news channel, but hey, I'm not one to talk about here because I ain't got much myself. He's actually got more than me. But anyway, you could do better with your hair, fella. So, this is GB News, and we keep chasing around COVID. All we do is chase our arseholes around looking after COVID. And we seem to forget about everything else. Well, let's have a listen and have a think about the future of what we're in store for.
The cosy COVID consensus is crumbling. I loved this tweet from my brilliant colleague Dan Wootton earlier today. Here's what he tweeted. The lockdown cheerleaders at the BBC devoted an entire episode of their Sunday morning news show to learning to live with COVID. A year and a half too late, folks. Much of the damage is now locked in. Shameful. Brilliant stuff. Dan is back tomorrow at 9. Now you watch. In the months and years to come, the greatest proponents for all of these ruinous COVID measures that don't appear to have made a discernible difference compared to countries and territories that did so little will be rewriting their own history in a similar way to those who now claim never to have supported the Iraq War. With the societal, economic, health and human damage from the measures we've seen, a set of unprecedented and experimental measures to control the virus, this will be like the Iraq War times 100. The Iraq War on acid. It won't just be a Tony Blair figure that you can blame in relation to that conflict. It will be an entire generation of scientists, medics, politicians and media outlets who will own this.
Own.
They and they alone will own the non-COVID death toll, which is obviously going to dwarf that of COVID. They will own the national debt. They will own the mental health tsunami.
The mental health tsunami. My goodness me. We're in a whole heap of trouble, people. We've got the army in the fucking hospital because we ain't got no fucking staff. Mental health, I'm really concerned about that because this is like a breakdown of society and the kids in the schools. I'm worried for them. I'm worried for their mental health. I've been seeing teen suicides going through the roof. You're going to own that. The people dying of cancer because it's not diagnosed, they haven't had the operations. You're going to own that. Let's chase COVID around. Let's chase people around who haven't had a fucking jab.
They will own the NHS waiting list, upwards of 6 million and beyond.
6 fucking million people are on the waiting list for the NHS. Can you imagine another lockdown now? Do you know what's going to happen in 2 years' time? In 3 years' time? In 4 years' time? In 5 years' time? Where the fuck are we going to be? When the Spanish flu was here and the death toll was higher, it didn't all of a sudden go bang and drop off. It tapered down. You know that. It tapered down. Go and look at John Campbell's video from yesterday.
They will own a sadder, diminished and angrier society. They will own damaged children. You mark my words, one by one, almost every measure that we've seen will be discredited. It was months ago that experts widely accepted that the endless hand sanitizing wasn't a key measure as the virus is airborne. Do you remember when our hands were red raw and blistered at the start of the pandemic? There's evidence to suggest those wretched perspex screens everywhere, catastrophic for the environment of course and unsightly, may actually assist the spread of COVID by trapping the aerosols for longer. Well done everyone. The surgical and cloth masks worn by the vast majority of people in this country are so useless they're not even accepted in Austria or Germany. They won't accept them. They just don't count as face masks. Yana Wen, a medical analyst for lockdown-loving news channel CNN in America, a woman who has backed the most stringent measures, told...
Next video is on CNN. Be CNN and Joe Rogan. It's quite interesting. It's funny. I don't know if any of you have heard of Joe Rogan, but we're going to get on that next.
The most stringent measures told the channel, don't wear a cloth mask. Cloth masks, she said, are little more than facial decorations. Blimey, I might get a nose ring. And if those super duper N95 masks are so effective, why are cases in Austria
where they have some laughs?
And if those super duper N95 masks are so effective, why are cases in Austria, where they are now enforced outside, going through the roof? Imagine that, folks. An outdoor mask mandate. Welcome to hell.
Oh no.
I was talking to a family friend recently and COVID came up, as it does. And she said, I don't read newspapers anymore or look at the telly. She literally said, I hate the media. What a line. I hate the media. But who could blame her, as they have
I don't like them
constantly and peddled the doctrine of lockdowns, masks, distancing and jabbing. And all they've done is spread fear across the community. No analysis, no scrutiny, no common sense, and no moral or ethical judgment, in my view.
Oof.
In press conference after press conference, it's been, why didn't we lock down more, sooner, harder, faster? Why do they slavishly back those measures? Well, some commercial operators are being bankrolled by government advertising around COVID. The Beeb may want to please the government for a better licence fee settlement. But almost all of them have pushed for these measures because fear gets you clicks and viewers. And these measures don't affect them. Most people in the media can afford lockdowns, curfews, social distancing, bubbles and work from home orders. Most of them are deemed essential workers and can come and go as they please. They've got fancy Apple Mac computers, well-appointed flats and houses. Often they've got capacious gardens, strong internet signals, and plenty of Pinot Grigio chilling in the fridge. Much of the media has let the public down in the course of this
I hope you ain't got a bottle of that in the fridge.
Failing to offer a 360 view of the issues around the pandemic. The people, in my view, have been gaslit, terrified and bullied for almost 2 years. There has been a media bubble, and at GB News, we are here to prick it. Let me quote you from two luminaries. First up, Professor Jay Bhattacharya, one of the most respected medics on the planet, head of medicine at the world-renowned Stanford University in California. He's also an expert in infectious diseases. He has called lockdowns the biggest public health mistake of all time.
Oh my God.
And let me quote you another luminary, a great thinker, the comedian Abby Roberts, because everyone is allowed an opinion, an extremely intelligent person. She simply said, this will be the biggest I told you so in history. How right she is. Now, in spite of my anger,
honestly,
in my view, needless suffering that we've seen.
Oh dear. Honestly, we'll get to your thing in a minute, but honestly, I hope it's not the biggest I told you so. Because I'm still not sure about these vaccines. I don't know what's going to happen in the long term. What about long vid? That's another thing. What about long vid? You know, the 5, the 10, the 15, the 20 years from now. What about that? What about that and beyond that, maybe? I don't know. Even if you've not had a vaccine, you get coronavirus. What about the long run? All right then, matey. Was this Mark Dolan? Come on then, Mark. Finish us out.
How right she is. Now, in spite of my anger at the, in my view, needless suffering that we've seen in the course of this pandemic for a very nasty virus, absolutely, but one non-fatal to the vast majority of the population. And in spite of my anger about how children have been treated, don't forget kids as young as 11 will be back in masks tomorrow at school, in spite of inconclusive evidence commissioned by the government that they actually work. And in spite of my dismay and pain on behalf of the millions who have been through hell and who will continue to pay for these measures, I personally will forgive and I will move on. But only if lessons are learned. If freedom of speech and thought within science and within the media are reinstated. And only if this madness is never allowed to happen again.
Let's think about this, people. Let's think about this. What are we doing? What are we doing?